That was a little better. That was a little better pop of the can than yesterday. I got to get the soundboard hooked back up because that, well, that's just a little bit embarrassing. Good to see everybody. Welcome to Friday. Welcome to Gabbing and Games. Let me just get a little sip of the bubbly one moment. Oh my God, I love the aspartame. It's got to be what it is. I've been addicted to Diet Coke since I was a wee lad. Good to see everybody. Welcome to the weekend. Welcome to the show. Ethical human being. I've always been able to read Twitch comments. I can read them and I can see them right now. How you doing, buddy? Listen, let us begin the wonderful, beautiful show that is called Gabbing and Games, at least in the better parts of the world. I don't know what they call it in the places that, you know, I would never venture. Oh my God, Jaffe, focus. Shh, look, here I am. I'm here. Okay, settle and focus. Settle and focus. Been a busy day. Hey, they're here?
Love you.
I love you too. Are they here? Okay, have a good time. Be safe. My child is going to hang out with friends. Sarah? Sarah? She's got her headphones on. Oh, well. You know, see, I'm just, it's Friday. Hey! Welcome to Gabbing and Games, everybody. It's good to see you. I appreciate you being here. Listen, I want to tell you something. I had a conversation early this morning. For me, it was early. It was 10:30 with Chan Park. Right now, I asked him if he'd come on the show. I'll tell you who he is in a second if you don't know, and he's going to come on for an interview soon. But Chan was a designer at Sony PlayStation back around PS1, PS2 era. And then he was the guy who ran the company. I think they were called Giant Robot or Super Robot. Not the guys who just made Hades, or one of those games, but they made PlayStation All-Stars. And we got talking about a bunch of different things, and we were talking about All-Stars. And, you know, we were both just kind of like, it's so weird that, you know, and I'll let him tell you when he comes on what his theories are about why they didn't make more content for that game. I've heard a couple different things. But what's interesting to me about that is, and him as well, it's like, dude, what are you doing, Sony? It's like, go make another one. It doesn't necessarily, you know, learn from what didn't work, especially given how expensive things are. And you know, it was successful. It sold 1 million copies. And, you know, to me, if I'm Sony, seriously, people ask me all the time, it's like, if you were to go back to Sony, what would you do? I'll tell you what I would do if I were to go back to Sony. I would go, look, I really think there's power in this All-Stars brand. I would, and it doesn't just have to be like Chan was saying today. It doesn't just have to be fighting that game. I would do a fucking Marvel Snap goddamn game or a Hearthstone Marvel Snap with all the Sony properties and other video game properties they could license. I would do a kart racer. I would ape the fuck out of Marvel Snap and Mario Kart. And I would do a Sony Mario Kart, probably would be my first. Well, I don't know which one I would do first. Hello, Kirk. Yeah, you can totally call in Kirk. Let me just get the preamble out of the way and I'll bring you on. But yeah, well, Movie Maniac says All-Stars only if they use the rabbit from Jumping Flash. I mean, they would need to, mine to keep it going for a long time. I'm sure that character would be there. But I'll tell you something, man. I think it. I mean, is it just me or don't you agree that, you know, PlayStation Kart and would just be a no-brainer, and you know, Marvel Snap, aka PlayStation Snap, would be a no-brainer. I get when you get into fighting, you really have to be top of the food chain. I think we're going to see with like Warner Brothers, what's called multiverses coming back out. You know, who the fuck knows if that's going to work. It worked really well for a little bit. And what they're saying is the reason it doesn't work anymore, that they had to pull it, was they just didn't prepare for the requirement of frequency drops of new content. And now I guess they've built this new version 2.0 to allow for much more frequent updates. And maybe that really was the only problem. I don't know. But I think that would be a much harder market to crack. But I do think if you jumped in to the card market and casual, like not casual, but like don't go trying to make magic, make a fucking user-friendly game. and you jumped into the kart racing market, absolutely. That would be fucking awesome, man. That would be awesome. But anyway, it was great to talk to Chan. Hadn't talked to him in a while. He's also the guy that was the creative director of a game that never shipped, but it was called Psycho 5.0. And GTA 3 came out right when they were really gearing up into production and just walloped the fuck out of them because the design was kind of like advanced Crazy Taxi. With its own twist and stuff. But once GTA came out, it totally changed what the players' expectations were for open world environments. And they were just like, this isn't going to work anymore. So I want to bring him on to talk about that, his experience with Sony and all this good stuff. He's a good dude. I love talking to him again today. And I think you'll love very much hearing from him. That's a great idea. Movie Maniac in the chat says, Power Stone, but Sony characters. I know I just said don't do a fucking fighting game, and I get it. It's a brawler fighting game. The world has suffered far too long without some sort of Power Stone sequel or ripoff. I'm sorry, but it's just fucking true. I don't know why that particular subgenre has been so difficult, or companies have been so reticent to do that sort of thing. It's kind of weird, but I think those games are great. Tom Dastrup says, I'm not sure Sony would consider 1 million sales a success. Well, this was back in PS3 era, right? And so it's a little bit different back then. And it made its money back. I understand. What I understood, and again, I'll have Chan verify this, but is that the characters cost so much money and that was really not to license, but to create and animate and all that, and that was really their main bread and butter of new content, that they just kind of like multiverses. They just didn't have enough content at a frequent enough pace to merit keeping that thing going. So yeah, I mean, I agree. 1 million sales today it's a nice little small success, but not something Sony would want. But I assume it would be totally free to play. Speaking of, can we talk briefly about the boneheaded? Film Gamer says, what the heck is a Power Stone? First off, my good friend, go Google it. You'll fall in love. It's a delightful experience. Shit, I lost my train of thought. Fuck, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, Bandai Namco. What the fuck are these people thinking? I didn't want to get to this story quite yet, but I'm really curious. Like, to me, this has to be something where these guys are like, they had to do this. They had to release this game like this. And it's I just don't know, because they can't be so stupid to think, this was the right way to go about it. This is, out yesterday. This is called, let me bring it up for you. This is called Pac-Man Megatunnel Battle. I played a version of it on Steam a while ago. Switch a while ago. It's Battle Royale Pac-Man. It's really fun. It's really good. It looks like this version, I think, is cross-play. It is... has a lot more features, a lot more cosmetic features, and it's really good. It's quite fun. And they just launched this, and out of all the games in the world that would need to be free to play, these stupid motherfuckers launched this for $30. And I've been reading reviews on Steam where people are like, at first I thought it was just really good, but then it turns out that no one is playing this game, and it's just bots, basically, because they can't fill, it's either 32 or 64 player Battle Royale, with a game that, what do you think that's about? Like, was it just like Bandai's like, yeah, we know, but it's a money thing if we don't charge for it? I just don't even know. I mean, they can't be morons who's like, what do you mean it's not going to sell for $30? But it is fun. It is a great deal of fun. But I won't be spending $30 on it. I'll be waiting for this to drop to free to play, which is what it fucking should have done, right out the goddamn, get-go. Bill Bones says, if that DLC is, legacy dungeons, tons of weapons, spells, ashes, bosses, then I'm okay with $40. What DLC are you talking about? Are you talking to me or someone else in the chat? Because I don't. Oh, you're talking about Elden Ring. Elden Ring DLC. Oh, yeah. Mighty Silverback says Elden Ring DLC is going to be huge. As big as some normal, just straight up games. Oh, absolutely. Okay, maybe. Maybe. My knee jerk was to agree with you. But now that I think about it, I don't know about that. And here's why. Because if you like Elden Ring, the completion rate of Elden Ring, and if anybody wants to look it up, let me know. My guess is the completion rate of Elden Ring is very, very low. And my guess is the return rate for Elden Ring, even though it was a great seller and it is literally my favorite game of all time, it probably turned off a lot more people than the people that fell in love with it, because I think it was so well marketed. It had the George R.R. Martin angle. People were raving about it, won all these awards. And I think a lot of people who are just traditional gamers play that game and they go, what in the goddamn cockadoodie fuck is this? I don't know what I'm doing. It's incredibly hard. I'm done. And so I do wonder if that is going to be actually kind of, again, I wouldn't have changed a thing. I love that game and I love Bloodborne and I love Demon Souls. I'm a fan. But I do wonder if the expectations for Elden Ring DLC are higher based on how, I don't know. I'm not saying it's a fact. I'm just saying that if I was in that business room making decisions, I would question that. I would really spend some time making sure that we had what we had, and it was actually worth getting as hyped as someone like Mighty Silverback is. Mighty Silverback says all the Souls games have had substantially sized DLC. Yep, it's not going to be 100 hours, but bigger than some games. I thought you meant bigger like success, but the size, apparently the world map is giant in the new Elden Ring DLC, so I'm excited. Tyler says Elden Ring DLC will be about an hour's worth of content that can be finished in 5 minutes. I've not had that experience with FromSoft. That doesn't feel like a FromSoft attitude. Again, I'm not good at these games, so I played, what was it, the Old Hunters, and I was just like, there's no fucking way I can play this game and beat this in 5 minutes. It was very, very difficult. Bandai says Gun doesn't like to give anything away for free. It's probably management. These are the same people who wanted to deny the two female protagonists were married in Gundam. Okay, but both those things have nothing to do with each other. But that said, though, maybe it's just not in their corporate DNA to give things away for free. But ultimately, if they want this to work, they're going to have to fucking give it away. Red Shinobi says, what helps Elden Ring is people watching walkthroughs on how to grind their characters and have a good experience. Otherwise, more people would be thrown off. I'm sure that's true. I did not play Armored Core 6. No, I did not, Wallace. Okay. Gun says Bandai has old ways of thinking. Yeah, but it's come on. Get with the fucking times, Bandai, you fucking morons. Because I want to play that goddamn game. Listen to this. Speaking of getting with the times, I want to ask you guys, here's a little quiz. It's a little quiz for you. What do you mean FromSoft is parting ways with Bandai? Burley? What are you talking about? Is that, I haven't heard that news. What do you mean they're no longer having anything published by Bandai anymore? Is that accurate? That's news to me, man. But listen, here's a little quiz for you. Here's a little quizzy wizzy. What do you think? There was a study done with 1,000 gamers in the United States, console and PC. And they're like, hey, fellas, Filettis, how do you find new games to buy? How do you find new games to get excited about? And they gave you the bottom ways and the top ways. What do you think the number one way is that gamers today say they discover video games that they want to play? And I'm going to get this super chat while you guys are thinking about it. Maxwell, thank you. Maxwell Quevedo. Maxwell Quevedo. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. Very generous. He says, reason why FromSoft is parting with Bandai is because FromSoft wants to become independent publisher away from Katakoa. It's been said multiple times on investor calls. Who is Katakoa? What the fuck is that? Is that a new COVID virus, Katakoa variant? Or is that the guy who runs Bandai? Yeah, I was not aware of that, but that's great. It's a big shift becoming publisher from just developer, but if they can do it, that would be fantastic. It's always great to make your own way and have that control. But who's Katakoa? He's a famous VTuber. No, and now Painkiller says it's a Japanese investment company. I don't fucking know. But FromSoft wants to become independent away from either a famous YouTuber or a Japanese investment firm. Okay. But then again, Mighty Silverback says Katakoa owns most of FromSoft. Nobody knows what the fuck I'm going to go with Silverback. FromSoft bought back the Elden Ring IP. Okay, Machine XP. That's great. I did not know that. Well, here we go. Here's the answer. A new study is found out of 1,000 PC and console gamers in America. 64% say the way they find games that they want to play is via YouTube. You guys got it right. But listen to this. It gets interesting the more you drill down. The second most is TikTok, 36%. Then Instagram, 35. Facebook, what? 34. Who's on Facebook anymore? And word of mouth, 32. The younger you get, the more TikTok rises. It goes from, now it's at 58% if you're 18 to 24. If you're old like me, it's only 29%. But here's the one I am really fascinated by. The least popular ways people decide to play video games. This is goofy, man. Some of these make sense. Some of these are goofy as fuck. Metacritic, 3%. At the bottom of the barrel, people use Metacritic scores. I don't even know if that sounds hard to believe, but all right. This one doesn't make any sense. The site's user reviews at 4%. Honestly, user reviews on Steam are crucial for me deciding if I want to buy a video game. I won't buy a game if it's got bad reviews that are written by people who have actually played the game for a decent amount of time, and it's not just review bombing. I'm surprised that's so low. And then print magazines at 5%. I'm like, okay, who in America? What are you reading, buddy? And this is going to disappoint some people. Is this how to find a new game, says Kyle, or deciding to buy? It's both. It's how they decide. It's how they engage or encounter new games for the first time. It's how they discover it. And also how they decide which to purchase and play. It's both. Steam user reviews are incredibly useful, says Silverback. The best metric, but you need to consider context of potential outrages. Right. I mean, that's what's great about the Steam stuff is it says, look, they've played the game for this many hours. And that's, you know, that it doesn't mean you still can't be a prick and review bomb or whatever, but it does allow you to recognize a more valid take. And that means a great deal to me for sure. Dean agrees, though. Dean B says, I saw some YouTubers play games which I didn't find interesting before watching them play. So, yeah. I mean, seeing people play is almost as good as just giving a demo. That's one of the things I was very excited about with Stadia, is their integration with YouTube and the fact that you could literally, what was promised, and they started to deliver this a little bit, but it was never anywhere what they promised yet. And obviously they didn't have the chance to actually get it there, but you could be watching a YouTuber play, and let's just say a game that was on Stadia, and it's like, oh, I want to try that. And you literally could just hit a button and you would be playing it right away. It would just be streaming to you. And it could even be streaming at that part where that gamer was playing. It was very, very cool, but it was, they didn't have all the infrastructure or the will to create the infrastructure to make that work. But listen to this. This is going to disappoint some of you, and I get it, but this is the writing on the wall, man. Hardcore gamers aren't going to want to hear this, but it's true. The number one reason, that they will buy or play a new game. You ready for this? Do you know what the number one reason 1,000 gamers were consulted, console and PC gamers? The number one reason that gamers decided to buy a game. It's not mobile. I'll give you 5 seconds. It's on Game Pass. It's close, but no. Nope. I'll just tell you. Here it is. 40% said that if the game was part of a familiar franchise, That's the number one reason they buy it. So all of this talk about wanting new shit and new chances and all that, that's great. But the number one reason is, oh, I know that one. I mean, that's any entertainment, man. That's any entertainment. Oh, I know that. I played Battleship when I was a kid. I'll go see that movie. I mean, nobody saw that movie. It was a terrible movie, but you know what I'm saying? 30% said they would be interested if the games were included in subscription plans, while 30% also said positive review scores were a factor. So, you know, it's interesting as to why people buy, especially as the market is just getting so impossible to really predict. Not that you could ever predict it, but you get a little clarity. Now it's kind of impossible. But anyway, I'm going to tell you something a little bit later in the show. A little bit later. Yeah. Dean says that's kind of lame, but understandable. I agree. Buzzy Buzz Buzz says, I refuse to acknowledge this research. Then get left behind, sir. Then get left behind. But I'm with you. I hear you. When will Lunch with Jaffe be? Lunch with Jaffe will be next week. I'm almost certain it will be Wednesday, but I'll let you know beginning of next week. I'm 41. Good goddamn year. I thought your birthday was yesterday. I sang you a whole birthday song yesterday, mute mo and everything, and now you're like, it's today. Maybe I said it was yesterday, but now I want the birthday song again. Motherfucker. Happy birthday, good sir. Okay, listen now. A little bit later in the show, I'm going to be watching this live towards the end of the show, but I'll just give you a little pickle tickle, a little hint. And I did not get into the closed beta, which pisses me off because I jumped through the hoops, man, for Marvel Rivals, right? I jumped through the hoops of, I signed up for their dumb fucking Discord. I filled out like a 6-page, whatever the goddamn thing, a survey and all this shit. I followed them and all that. I'm like, okay, have I jumped through your goddamn hoops, Marvel Rivals? Clearly not. Because what's happening right now is the weekend has kicked off and they are actually showing, people are streaming the game. So I haven't spent a lot of time watching it yet. But I will watch it with you guys who want to stick around later at the end of the show. This guy's just jumping in. He's playing the Hulk. If you don't know what this is basically Overwatch 2 with Marvel characters. There was a data leak this week that listed all of the characters that would be available for it. There's a lot of good goddamn characters coming for this thing. Let me tell you what these things are, who they got. Hulk, Punisher, Storm, Loki, Human Torch. Interesting. They've always stayed away from Human Torch. I know they're making the new movie and they'll have him, but they're always, back in the day, they were worried kids would see it and set themselves on fire. Doctor Strange, Mantis, Hawkeye, Captain America, Rocket Raccoon, Hela, whatever Cloak and Dagger. Is that one character or two? Black Panther. That's cool that they're putting them together as one playable. Ultron, Magic, Moon Knight, Luna Snow, Squirrel Girl, Black Widow, Iron Man, Venom, Spider-Man, Magneto, Scarlet Witch, Thor, Mr. Fantastic, a.k.a. Reed Richards, Winter Soldier, Penny Parker. Oh, right, that's the robot girl. Spider-Man, Star-Lord, Blade, Namor, Adam Warlock, Jeff the Land Shark, Psylocke, Wolverine, Invisible Woman, The Thing, and Iron Fist. This is a great lineup. It's a great fucking lineup. Now, I don't know if the game's going to be any good. We'll know this weekend. We'll hear people talking about it. But I am very excited for it because I love the brand. And that's pathetic. But the truth is, it kind of goes along with that survey we just talked about, doesn't it? That's why I'm excited for this. If this was just a random shooter, I wouldn't even be on my fucking radar. But the fact that I get to play the Punisher and Spider-Man and I get to play on Asgard and all this shit, I am totally into it. Yeah, there is no Deadpool right now. Isn't that something? Isn't that crazy? You can say Blackjack says Marvel likes making generic products, and okay, sure, maybe that's true, but they're great. The Sony ones are pretty great, and Guardians of the Galaxy game was pretty great, and Marvel Snap is a goddamn classic. It's excellent. Is it free to play? Interesting question, Brett Moore. I don't know, but I would imagine it is, but I do not know. Let's find that out together. And like I said, I'm going to look at this a little bit later in the show in more detail, but is Marvel Rivals free to play? Let's find out. It's a good question. It is 6v6 team-based free-to-play shooter. Look at that. They're on. See, somebody at Bandai Namco needs to take notes. from the Marvel folks. That's all I'm saying to you. Listen, I'm serious though. Whatever it is, let me put on the, anybody want to call in, talk about games, talk about what you're playing this weekend. You're welcome to do it. Don't be boring, or I'll have to kick you early because, people don't like boring things. But there's the link. Whatever you game on, whether you're a wealthy fella or Folletti or you don't got much of anything, if you got yourself any device, this is a great play. It is a great week for games. The indie games are jumping like a motherfucker. Look what you can play this weekend, just briefly. This is all new stuff for the most part. But if you have, put this on, you got a new, apparently really good game on Game Pass, Little Kitty Big City. Animal Well, I've been playing. It's great. It's hard. I'll probably never finish it, but it's hard. But it's great. That's like at a 90 on Metacritic. That's, quote, free if you have PS Plus, one of the tiers. Crow Country, I've been playing a lot of. I like it a lot. Excuse me, fellas. That is kind of like Resident Evil, Silent Hill. It's very neat, man. It's nothing very innovative, but it's very fucking cool. Indica is one of my favorite games of the year. It's kind of this weird religious, slow burn, semi-horror game. And then, you got I guess I bring it up because I'm like, when I was playing today's stream, I was just going, how are people out there complaining so much about video games right now? I'm not trying to be the positive guy. You guys know me. Trust me. There's some shit to complain about in this stream. But business stuff aside, when you just look at the output that manages to make it on your shelves, whether they're real or digital, I don't know how people could be complaining about the state of games right now. Even stuff like, I get there are the hardcore fans that certain people don't like the new Modern Warfare. Modern Warfare 3 is a goddamn blast. If you don't got any goddamn money, Warzone is a blast. The new Star Wars stuff with Fortnite is a blast. I'm not saying there's not shit. There's a lot of shit out there. I'm not trying to blow sunshine up your butthole. But I'm staggered. V Rising, which I can't get into, is that vampire open world, build your own vampire castle. I love the idea of it. But I played it today for the first time and I was just kind of like, it controls kind of weird. Like the button configuration is really weird. It's not very, like, it doesn't have a very good opening in terms of engaging you and getting you involved. But, there's not a lot of good games to play, Addy Pie says. Fuck you, Addy Pie. You know that's not true. I just want loads of horror games. I'm waiting on Silent Hill 2 remakes as Film Gamer. I don't have much faith in that at all, but there's a lot of great horror out, dude. I assume you play on PC. If you don't, see if you can. Not because I'm like, oh, PC's the best, although it is, but because there's so much fucking horror on PC, like really low budget, weird fucking shit people make. Okay, let's move on though. Let's talk about some stuff. Let me see if I can find some things to complain about so you guys know that you're watching the right show. Well, okay, I was going to complain about this. But now, well, here you go. This is the director of the live action Zelda movie. He's being interviewed by IGN last night, and they ask him if he has a favorite Legend of Zelda game. This is what he says. Here you go.
And do you have a favorite Zelda game?
I better not say.
Okay, so a lot of people, including me, the initial thought was this motherfucker has never played a fucking Zelda game in his goddamn life, or he's probably never played one. Like his agent sent him, Wind Waker or some such shit and said, play this fucking thing, and see if you want to direct the movie. So at first I was just kind of like, this is not the guy. But his new movie that opens tonight is getting great reviews, which is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, sitting at 82% Rotten Tomatoes. People really fucking like it. And what he directed before was the Maze Runner movies. And I thought, at least the first one is the only one I saw, I thought it was terrible. Not terrible like it was unwatchable, but it was just benign and soulless and just not really valuable at all. to anything. But this one's getting good reviews, so I'm a little. And he did address this in a tweet. He said, he's like, you know what? You guys are so fucking cynical. He's like, if I tell you my favorite game is Wind Waker, then what's going to happen is everybody's going to assume that I'm taking inspiration from Wind Waker, and you're going to start guessing, and I'm not going to be able to confirm or deny things. Hang on, fellas. My ringtone is not weird as fuck. That's the Galaga song. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I got to go let some maintenance people inside. It's a long story. I'll tell you later if it's interesting enough. But in the meantime, Kirkland, are you watching? Jump in so I don't have to make the stream boring. Otherwise, we'll take a 5-minute break and I'll be right back. But here's the link if anybody wants to call in. But you're going to have to entertain everybody, so don't fucking be an asshole. Here we go. Ooh, 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 ooh. Come on now. Come on now. You got it? I got to let these motherfuckers in. I got to show them where the termites are. There were termites in the kitchen. It's a long story. Why does the director need to be a gamer? It's a good question. I'll put that up. We'll talk about that right when I get back. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I'm back in 5 minutes. I apologize for the delay. It's the way it works. It's a one-man band here. Back in 5. Be well. All right. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to do an edit here in the VOD. One sec. Let me just make a note. All right. One moment. Okay. One second. I want to just tell you guys who's writing this movie. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. All right, let's go back to the show. Sorry about that. We're back. Okay. Boom. Okay. Blackjack says, why does the director of the Legend of Zelda movie need to be a gamer? Shouldn't the movie stand on its own? Absolutely. But here's my answer to that. It's not that you need a hardcore fan to direct the movie. Like I'm thinking back to the last Resident Evil movie they made. And you know, there were all of these little nods to the fans or to the actual games. And that was nice. Like you had the guy eating the hamburger in the truck at the beginning of RE2 and the station looked just like the station in RE1 and blah, blah, blah. But the movie was terrible. So I agree with you, Blackjack, that the most important thing is to get a movie that works. And a director doesn't need to be a hardcore fan to get it. But you do need to have a vision. Like there's a difference between going, here's what it could possibly indicate. That when you ask somebody what their favorite Zelda game is and they don't answer or they can't answer, and it's not what this guy Wes Ball is saying. It's like, I don't want to play favorites and give fans the wrong idea. But you could go, oh, is he just a workman, journeyman director? He's kind of like, you know, the perfect example is this guy who directed like the third Mummy movie, Tomb of the Emperor or something. It was serviceable. It was fine, but there's no vision there. It was just like, well, we need somebody to make the widget. This guy knows how to put a movie together. Let's get it done. That's why it matters that the answer, maybe he could have been a little bit more, well, I'm not going to tell you exactly my favorite, but let me tell you what I find the heartbeat of all the Zelda games, and here's my vision. And so it's not so much that he can tell you where all the pieces of the Triforce are hidden in every single fucking game, but it's that he understands and the material resonates with him. I think that's why people kind of worry. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. The writer, this is interesting, the writer of the movie wrote a wonderfully weird science fiction time travel movie, a guy named Derek Connolly, called Safety Not Guaranteed. And then he went on to write Jurassic World Domination, Jurassic World, and Pokemon Detective Pikachu. So, you know, your mileage will vary. Shit, he also wrote the story to Rise of Skywalker. Run, people. Run like the goddamn wind. So I don't know how this is going to work out. But, you know, we'll see. But I was glad to hear Wes Ball's answer. I'm even more glad to see that his movie is coming out tonight that is getting a lot of love by critics and fans so far. So hopefully there is some hope, a little bit of hope. What about the writer? You don't need the writer, says Willem Dafoe. Oh, I haven't seen that movie. Okay. I like the blocky, glitchy look of it personally, mostly because of nostalgia. I would think every change was annoying. I don't know what you're talking about. I shouldn't even be reading that. Not because it's bad, Brad, because I don't know what you're talking about. All right. Okay. So we're not going to talk much about Xbox. It's talked out, but there were a couple of quick little stories I do want to talk about, get your thoughts on before we move on to some other things, because I would be remiss if we didn't talk briefly about the Sarah Bond quote that's going around, because and this is probably because Xbox has made me feel a little worried lately about them. I mean, I've always been worried about them in terms of can they consistently make good product. My answer is so far no, but I don't know what the fuck's going on over there like everybody else, right? So my guard is up, and so I'm probably reading into this a little bit too much, but you tell me. But when they asked her at this interview at Bloomberg Tech Summit yesterday, they said, she followed up a quote. She said, or followed up a question. She said, "You're going to see some more really big games going into Game Pass later this year." And the interviewer said, "From Activision's portfolio or ... And Sarah Bond says, across the whole slate, you're going to see some really amazing things, and keeping that as something that is really special for Xbox players is central to us." Now, at first I was like, I believe this is where everybody is getting the assumption that Call of Duty is going to be on Game Pass day one, because after this, what I was seeing in a number of articles about this was that this was the quote they were printing when they were saying, "Hey, fellas and Filettis, Xbox is going to be Call of Duty day one." And again, unless you guys are like, no, that's not the quote they were talking about, I'm going to go ahead and assume that this is the quote. And in that quote, when she says across the whole slate, so she's not saying there won't be Activision portfolio games on Game Pass later this year. And maybe even big ones, but she's not saying they're day one. And saying across the whole slate doesn't mean every game in the slate. It means across the slate, meaning we have the Activision slate, we have the Blizzard slate, we have the first-party Xbox slate, we have the Bethesda slate. Across those slates, you're going to see amazing things, she said. That's not really the same thing, is it? As saying this is going to be day one, all the Activision games, specifically Call of Duty. Right? I mean, because all these articles are now being written like on that's not like just, people on NeoGAF. There are articles being written saying it's the deal. That's what's happening. So I'm wondering if have you guys seen some other quotes from that interview that makes this more clear? Let me know on that. In the meantime, let me get some of these chats. Have you tried Crow Country yet? Says Brett Moore. Happy birthday, Mutant Mo. Thank you for being a member for 26 goddamn months, Brett. Yes, I was playing it. I played the demo, and then I started playing the final game last night, played a little bit of it today. I really like it. There's nothing about it that is like, oh my God, I've never seen that before, but it's like comfort food so far horror. There's some really good puzzles so far. What I really like about it is, and I know, like I said, this is not innovative, but your ability to take the camera and rotate it. So you would be forgiven if you looked at it and said, oh, it's just like an isometric game from one perspective or one angle. And it is, but you can still spin the camera 360. So imagine playing Resident Evil 1 with the fixed camera, but imagine being able to still rotate your camera. So a lot of times the puzzles are literally just like, oh, I need to look around the whole room and stuff. It's really minor stuff like that. And the art style I don't like. It's not scary. I saw somebody criticize it in a review saying it looks kind of childish. It does. And not in a way where it's like, oh, it's creepy. It looks like, what? It looks stupid. It's like a dumb art style. But the game itself, though, and the narrative and the ambiance, I'm loving. It's great so far. And I'm enjoying spending more time there than in Animal Well. But that's probably just because Animal Well has a little bit too much Celeste in it for me. And I'm not good at hard games. I'm not good at most games, but hard games certainly. But I am enjoying both of those. Brad Skag says, I'm not a dude bro or a video game investor, so I don't really care about Call of Duty. I'm not a dude bro either, nor am I a video game investor. I adore Call of Duty. It's a great deal of fun. But the trick is you got to find a way to play it, right? So, I mean, I'm not going to talk too much about Call of Duty because I know this is not the audience for it, but I'll give you an example. The only mode I play, I mean, I'll play what modes people want to play if I'm playing with friends and stuff or playing with members of the stream, but if I'm just playing on my own, I will go into Kill Confirmed and I will have the shield as my main weapon, and then I will obviously, pick up a cool weapon on the battlefield, like a missile launcher, sniper rifle, whatever. And that allows me to actually be competitive in that mode, because that's the mode where if you kill somebody, they drop their dog tags, and the team at the end that has the most dog tags wins. So I never get the most kills, but I'm very often competing for the person who has the highest score for the dog tags, which is how you win that mode. But yeah, if it was just, a straight up shooter, I couldn't hang with that game because it's too hard for me. But I hear you, but I'm not a dude bro either. So Give it a chance if you haven't. Okay. Listen, we got a good super chat coming in from good sir Michael Struckman. He's the fella, if you watch the news, you know the guy who flashed the lady at the grocery store in LA and she kicked him in the balls with her rollerblades? That's not him, but he was standing next to that guy. Michael Struckman says, totally off topic, what's your opinion of Battle Pass exclusives in Fortnite or any game? Is it crazy no one can play as Deadpool in Fortnite unless they played the game in 2020? Well, first off, let's be clear. I mean, I love the Battle Pass came along and allowed a system for the West for free to play to work here, which is that a lot of it up until that point had been struggles with paying for power. And you don't get that with I mean, it depends on the game, but certainly with a game like Fortnite and even Marvel Snap, I don't think it's much really pay to win, even though you can get cards that other people don't have. But it's purely cosmetic in Fortnite, and so I love that. But the second part of it, which is kind of a level of scarcity, which is sort of, engineered scarcity, which is like, okay, if you want, like right now you can get the Princess Leia 1977 Star Wars white dress with the buns, the cinnamon buns in her hair. And I don't know if that's ever been available before, but it's available now. And once it's done, it goes back into the vault and you can't get it. I mean, there's something fun about that. There's a fun chase, whether you're trying to win, do well enough to get enough V-Bucks or unlock things and stuff, or you just have to get the money to buy it. If it was always available, I do think it would become a little less of a, oh shit, that's cool moment. And I get it. I get that. Is that as, can you chart the value of that over just anybody being able to go into a store on Fortnite and buy whatever they want? I don't know which would be better, but I don't have a problem with it the way it is. And you can gift them too. Like somebody gifted me and I don't know who it was. And it's really unfortunate because I want to thank them, but Fortnite doesn't give you a way after you open the gift to, I'm like, well, who was that? I don't know who that was who gave me that gift. Somebody gifted me a really cool Scarlet Spider from Spider-Man suit, which is not for sale. They must have bought it and said, I'm going to give this. I don't know how it works, but I like the social aspect that can come with it. I wouldn't mind being able to have like an auction shop where you can trade or sell skins you have to other people. So there's like a secondary market. So it could at least, if you really want the Indiana Jones skin, which I do, but I wasn't playing Fortnite at the time, you could get it. But that's I don't think that exists. And I know they'll ban your account if you sell your account and shit like that. But it's cool, man. I enjoy it a lot, and I appreciate your super chat. Thanks so much. Okay. Let's move forward. Free chats are not worthless. What are you talking about? CW, what is he talking about? Tell me you're not talking to me on that. I get all the chats on this stream if I see them and if they're interesting. That's it. You got if you're going to pay for one, of course I'll read it and address it because you paid. But if you didn't, you got to make sure I see it. And if people in the chat like it enough, a lot of times they'll say, Jaffe, get to Brett Moore's question. It's really good. And I'll get to it. But, what do you want from me? Okay. Jason WB says, has anybody played Wolong? I did. It's like Ninja Gaiden with difficulty. It's really great, but again, it's really hard for me. So, Jaffe, do you play any game that's older these days? Well, I mean, I'm playing Marvel Snap. I'm playing Fortnite. I'm playing Call of Duty 3. If you mean older, like than that, I mean, every now and then I'll still go back to, old arcade games, but I very rarely pull out like a, Shadows of the Empire for the N64, if that's what you mean. No, I don't really do that. Hello, Basement Radio Arcade. Good to see you, buddy, as always. Okay, but it sounds like none of you guys with the Sarah Bond thing, you agree that she's left herself a lot of wiggle room in that statement. Because when I heard it, I was just like, that doesn't sound like, don't get me wrong. I fucking want them to put Call of Duty, the new one, on Game Pass. But that's not a confirmation. That's but it's been weird that you've seen these like real, websites, not just sort of fan sites and influencers saying it, but they've written it like, oh no, she confirmed it. That's not a confirmation. It's not a confirmation. Listen to this. Xbox is King says, Jaffe, you personally, are you starting to use AI for anything in your life other than a virtual girlfriend? Yes. And I in fact, that is you, sir, or madam, are a genius, or a genius, as I like to say, because that topic is coming up in just a moment. But first, last thing I want to say on Xbox, and there's nothing else to talk about Xbox, okay? Because I know people are sick of it. I get it. How well would Tango Gameworks have done without Mikami? I don't know. Probably, who knows? But what I will tell you, PK, is that I heard today that somebody was tweeting that a large percentage of Tango Gameworks left with Mikami, and I didn't see that anywhere else except on some Japanese account. But maybe that's pretty cool actually. But I don't know if that's true. I'm nearly 50, says Roswell, and I have had a console of some sort since 81. I got to say, I honestly prefer the older games. Keep up the great work, DJ. Roswell, I appreciate that. Roswell, I don't know if you have caught a video. Okay, Eddie T says that's been debunked. Okay, there you go. Great. Roswell, there's a video on this very channel. I don't know if you search maybe 80s Gen X or something, but I made it about a month ago. And there is a sub genre of game that is, it's not like catching on, but it's big enough that it's worth your time if you were a kid of the 80s and you like the older games. They're just single screen games, man. They'll have multiple stages and different screens, but it's literally just, one's called like Donut Dodo or something that just came out. One's a Mappy ripoff, but it's better than Mappy was. It's really cool to see these kind of single screen, very focused mechanics games still being made and still being appreciated by people. So I highly recommend it if you're curious about it. Okay. Mike Ybarra, who you guys know, good guy. Mike Ybarra was the first interview we did with the Gabbin' Games newsletter that you can subscribe to if you're interested. We did a 10 questions with Mike Ybarra when he was still running Blizzard. He tweeted today about Microsoft, because he used to work at Microsoft and he worked at Blizzard, which was now is part of Microsoft. He's no longer there. But he wanted to speak out about what's happening at Xbox. And I thought this was pretty interesting. He says, I don't know if he's given a bit of a side swipe because he's been kind of nice and, he said nice things about Phil Spencer and all that. He's not throwing people under the bus, but he kind of is throwing people under the bus in a way, not in a mean way. Here's what he says. He says the idea, this was his tweet. He says the idea of the market is not growing as a PR excuse. As a team, it's your job to drive your own growth, even if the overall market isn't growing at the rate you want, which is fine because strategies change, blah, blah, blah. He says it all comes down to making great games. If you make great games, consumer demand will follow and your business can do well, even in the low market growth years. A great game is a $500 million to $1 billion plus profit generator for the business. Given the size of studios, you need to get a world where a few of the teams are delivering this at the right cadence. You don't need all your studios doing big, huge games and shouldn't as the risk portfolio is too high. After all, your install base is big right now, blah, blah, blah. Okay. He says, if you aren't making great games, which they're not, I said that. He didn't say they're not. But if you're not making great games, then your hardware isn't selling and your subscription is flatlining, the clarity of strategy or execution is broken somewhere and needs to be fixed, inclusive of ensuring leadership and team capability to drive great game development and growth. That's the thing. It's the first time I've seen somebody like at his level and somebody who was a fly on the wall at Blizzard, Microsoft, and then just pure Microsoft Xbox. He used to report to Phil Spencer, and he's got nothing but nice things to say about Phil Spencer. But he's pretty much saying what a lot of us have been saying, which is their management, for whatever reason, is shit, and they're not able to consistently deliver good enough products to make the vision work. I think that's pretty fucking cool. that you've actually got somebody with that level of insight into that particular business pretty much saying it. It would be nice if people at Microsoft now would say it and they'd turn the goddamn thing around, but you know what I think about it. You know what I think. What was over 10 years ago? Blizzard? No, you're talking about somebody else. Okay. Duke. Oh, Duke, thank you for the super chat. And more importantly, or as importantly, thank you for the Spider-Man skin. Yeah, I didn't know who it was. Duke says it was me who gifted you the Spider-Man skin on Fortnite. Thank you for that. It was weird. So I log in. I get a little ping saying somebody gave you a gift. Your name in Fortnite is not Duke. It's a different name. So I didn't know who it was. So then, and I forgot the name. So I went kind of clicking going, who are the people who gave me gifts? And I can't find it anywhere. Because I was at least going to click on the name, not knowing it was you, and say, hey, thanks, I got your gift. But I had no way of knowing, but now I do, and I appreciate that, buddy. Somebody was asking about the debacle that is the marketing of the goddamn Cock-a-Doodle Hellblade, which is coming out in a couple weeks. I mean, what do you... look, I don't think that it's a debacle. I think it is exactly what a lot of people think it's going to be, which is they don't have... Look, if Hi-Fi Rush, which is a very commercial, not visual game, but it's very, a lot more people are going to vibe up with Hi-Fi Rush than this game. I believe, even if it's a wonderful game of the year contender, arty farty, all that, it's a limited audience, this kind of game, I think. And that's assuming it's amazing. My guess is Microsoft looked at it and said, look, fellas, this may be great, but this is not going to move the needle. And every dollar we spend on this at this point to market it, that we're not contractually obligated to spend, if they even are. Like, I don't know if they made a deal with Ninja Theory before they bought them that will spend up to X million on marketing. But assuming they didn't, I think what you're seeing is a reflection of what they believe about this game and its ability to either sell copies or drive subscriptions in Game Pass. Doesn't mean it's not going to be a great game, but I think it's clear that they're just like, they're going to send it out there and it's going to do what it does. Now, to be also fair, though, marketing their games has never been that strong. Sea of Thieves on PlayStation 5 had a lot of PR because it was a big PR event. And it made sense people were talking about it and reporting it. And that's the number one selling game right now as we go into the weekend on PSN. But I don't think that that's because they marketed the shit out of it. I think it's because, it was a great story and that's what got people's attention. Jaffe says, Rain, I'm glad you hate Game Pass. I don't hate Game Pass. I love Game Pass, but I hate the fact that it's probably based on what we're seeing, not going to be able to deliver the vision that I always was really rooting for that Microsoft was promising. Anyway, Duke is lying, says Darth Nugget. Been a member for 36 months. Thank you, buddy. It was me. You are welcome. Well, thank you, Darth Nugget, as well. But fuck you, I know it was Duke. It had the smell of Duke all over it. Ew. Jaffe, I gifted you an old school set of Spider-Man underoos, says Zeke. Listen to me. I bought underoos. I had Spider-Man underoos. I had Hulk underoos. I loved them. And I would absolutely, because you don't understand, you guys. You don't understand. And I'm going to get back to games, but I got to tell you something. When people my age, what we had for costumes, was not what you guys have. You go into a Halloween store now, and it's like cloth costumes and a mask that fits over your face, and if you have the physique, not that you would as a kid, of one of these superheroes, you look like it. What we had was like a plastic fucking smock that literally kind of sort of looked like Spider-Man's front of his costume and then had the giant Spider-Man logo over it. And you had a mask with a rubber band around. I mean, so yeah, forgive me if I bought the underoos to have the shirt, because the shirt actually looked like the fucking Spider-Man outfit to an extent. So fuck you. Eric Lennon, I put it in again, buddy. I didn't see your question. Okay. Listen, somebody was asking about AI earlier. I know you guys don't like it when I get into AI too much, but I really do want to show you something. It'll be quick. It'll be painless, but I got to show you this. Adrian says, listen to the heaviest metal album ever released. I'm not going to do that, but I will tell you that that Ghost, which I've never listened to a full song of Ghost, but I love their theatrics. And I just saw their trailer for their movie that's coming out. And I'm just like, you know what? I probably would really like Ghost. And so I'm in the market for somebody to tell me, if you've never listened to a Ghost album before, what is the best Ghost album to listen to sort of that really is indicative of who they are as a band? Let me know in the chat. I'd appreciate it. All right. Listen, let's talk about AI briefly. Okay. Hang on. Okay. So this was an article on VentureBeat, Next Gen Tech Forum, how Google AI is reimagining the future of gaming. This was GDC this year. They're talking about generative AI. Let me tell you the two things that were important and relevant to me. The first thing is just something I've always been saying, and it's great to hear people working on AI parrot it back, because it means we're getting closer to what I think is the future of this wonderful medium. Ultimately, they say games will be able to respond directly to the player's input or explicit instructions. The game will be able to create content on the fly to immediately meet the needs of an individual or even a small cohort of users. You'll see something coming very soon from my colleagues at Google on exactly that. Okay, so awesome. I want to just let you know, it's not just your Papa Jaffe speculating, playing around. These are people who work in AI at the biggest companies in the world. Are saying, no, we get how this can actually make the holodeck, and we're working on it. So back the fuck off. But the other thing, though, as to how I use AI, I'm gonna give you a direct example, because I and not trolling. I'm genuinely interested in the conversation on this, because I want to know why you think this is bad. So this is what they said, and then I'm going to tell you how I've used it in the last week. They say they can be your inspiration engine, meaning AI, ChatGPT, whatever, get you past creative blocks, especially when you're fleshing out quest or character stories. They can be your collaborator. You can ask them anything, and they can help you come up with ideas. These things are transforming the way the developers approach game creation, especially in early stages. Okay, so here's what's going on. I've been playing a decent amount of this game right here from EA. It's on PlayStation Plus right now. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I'm enjoying it so much that I'm clearly going back to it, and I haven't given up on it yet. This is Tales of Kenzira Zao, which is, it's like a Metroidvania. It's clearly not as polished as something like the last Prince of Persia Metroidvania, but it's fun. He moves great. He's got some cool powers. The level design can get a little bit samey, but so far I'm into Act 2 and I dig it. Okay. But what bothered me about it was when I was reading some articles and I was listening to some interviews with the director of it. And by the way, the story itself starts off kind of pandering, and it starts off kind of obnoxiously earnest. But as it goes, it's genuinely a compelling, interesting story. The performances are great. The guy who is the main character, Zhao, is an actor who I guess was in Game of Thrones or something else. But he's great. The other voice actors are great. But when he did an interview with NPR, he said... He's talking a lot to the lady, and the lady's not really pushing back on him about, he's like, this is a game that was born out of the grief I had to process and deal with when my father died. And it clearly affected him in a very big way, as it should. But, and he's like, oh, I made this game, and it's about that, and it's about how you process it, and how the grief of a parent dying, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and I was just like, oh, okay, well, this is great. Excuse me. And I played the game, and I'm enjoying the game a lot, but short of the cutscenes, none of that is in the game, right? It's like the game is fun, and the performances are great, so it doesn't feel arty-farty, the Sousa. It's good. It does feel like what Marvel should do with Black Panther, and I hate to say that. I know I'm not, African, and I'm sure there's a lot of nuance, but both of these are fictional countries in Africa, and both of these are futuristic, high-tech countries in Africa. And you are playing basically the son of the former shaman who had all these powers. So in a lot of ways, it really does kind of feel a little bit like, well, this is Black Panther. But anyway, so I'm like, I don't like that reviewers don't push back on this, or interviewers don't push back on this. That it's like, well, okay, you're talking about the game being a reflection of your struggles with grief, but I played the game, and other than the cutscenes, what are you talking about? And it's like, oh, a game was the perfect medium to do this. And I'm like, why? The game has nothing to do with it. So anyway, what I did was I said, let me go, if I was still designing, I said, let me go to ChatGPT. And I was like, I want to see if I can work with ChatGPT to come up with some mechanics that reflect the grieving process, right? Because then it's like in the game itself, okay? And so this, I'm not going to read you the whole thing, of course, but when you say, do I use it? If you guys are, I want to walk you through this process, and if you still walk away from it and go, that's bullshit, you shouldn't do that, I'm like, we have to agree to disagree. Here's the prompt. Can you give me 5 ideas for play mechanics where the idea are play mechanics that allow the player, through playing the game, to work through the grief and sadness and shock that comes with the death of a father? And they gave me a bunch at first, and a bunch of these were very on the nose, like, you navigate through the protagonist's memories. And I'm like, and I said to it, I said, I want abstract mechanics that are metaphors for grief. I don't want you to make mechanics that have the wrappers, the candy wrapper of grief and the father. I want it to be that if you analyze the mechanics, you're like, oh, this is a metaphor, right? So it started to get a little bit better, right? Here was one example. The player's trapped in a time loop where they continually relive the moment they receive the news of the loved one's death. Each loop presents opportunities to interact with objects or characters in different ways, but the outcome remains the same. The mechanic illustrates the feeling of being stuck in a moment of disbelief and denial. I'm like, all right, that's okay. It's not great, but it's all right. But then it started getting, I prompted a little bit more. I said, can you give me ideas of a mechanic where the player is in denial so the game world and mechanics shift between the truth and what the player grieving wants it to be? And then they had a couple of ones that I thought were better. She said, or I think it's a she, I don't know why. Throughout the game, she says, the player encounters objects that distort reality. When interacted with, these objects temporarily transform the game world into a version that aligns with the player's denial. For example, a photograph may change the appearance of characters or locations to match the player's desired reality. However, relying too much on these objects weakens the player's ability to progress, forcing them to confront the truth to regain strength, right? And on and on. So we spent like 45 minutes just brainstorming this shit, okay? And if what you're saying is that that is unacceptable to you, or that is not a wonderful tool as a designer or a writer or a creative in general. I mean, because what you're really saying, yes, given time, I could have spent a bunch of time and come up with enough of these purely on my own. I could have banged my head against the wall. I could have walked around. I could have stress eaten. To eventually arrive at one or two of these that I would then take back and pitch to the team and say, hey, what do you think of this? This I did in 45 minutes. Now, am I to feel bad about that if I was still designing games? Am I to feel bad that I used this amazing tool to help me, get my head around, these ideas that I didn't have any specific concrete scenarios, but I knew what I wanted. And I mean, I don't get why that's a problem. Like Darth Nugget says, it's a tool like a microwave is for a cook. That's dumb though, because what that implies is like you can make an argument that if you make scrambled egg, I don't know, if you make something in a microwave versus on a stove, it's going to taste better on the stove. And here's why. It can marinate, and even the flavors that have been in the pan before at a molecular level will seep into the eggs and blah, 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 right? This is not that. Are you telling me that these are bad ideas? I don't believe you. I'm sorry. They're not fleshed out yet. Gun says, could you have brainstormed with your colleagues? Yeah, but again, it still would have taken us a couple of days, weeks to do. I think, what if your creative process would have arrived at something better? Well, cantankerous though, that's always the work, right? Eventually you got to put pen to paper or key to keystroke or whatever the fuck it is. And you've got to say, well, this is, given the time we have to create, this is where we arrived. Otherwise you'll never get started. But I think, I think that's really great. It's sort of like Awesome says, when the word processor was invented, it helped us put our thoughts in digits. I think so. Yeah. Hang on, I'm looking at the chat. Sorry, fellas. AI will eventually exceed humanity's ability to create a game because it will tailor the game in real time. Absolutely. 100%. They are good ideas, says Robert, and 100% come from reviews or people writing about games. So what? Everything comes from that. Everything, if you listen, I've talked about this before, if you listen to the, what's the guy's name? Bald guy, Smashing Pumpkins lead singer. He's like, what's the difference between, me making a song with AI, as long as it's legal, building on the bones of all the songs it has in its database that's come before that it was trained on, and me doing what I used to do and listen to old records from the 30s up to like the 80s. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to take the riff from this old, Otis Redding song, and I'm going to play it backwards, and I'm going to speed it up, and that's going to give me the whatever, the bass. I don't know music. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's every creative process is built on the bones of what came before. So I don't know. I don't know why it's so hated. Billy Corrigan, that's the guy's name, says Eddie T, is a genius, but I disagree there and with his wrestling booking. I don't know about the wrestling. And you can disagree all you want, but he's Billy Corrigan and you're not. I mean, I'm just saying, Okay. Now ask AI to innovate on those ideas to create something we haven't seen. Ask anyone to do that, Zeke. I challenge you. I ask you to give me an example of anything in movies or a video game in the last 5 years that came out that wasn't built on the bones of something you've played or watched before. I don't understand that. I just don't understand that. Okay, so by the way, Eric Lennon wanted me to address, he thinks his comment is just too spicy. It's not. I just don't have an answer. He says, was Sarah Bond of Xbox hired because she was a DEI hire? I don't know. How would I know that? She seems quite capable, and she seems quite good at her job so far. I think the only real negativity that we can attribute to her is her boneheaded answer yesterday. And ultimately it's her fault, but you'd have to wonder why the PR team didn't prepare her better and say, Sarah, you're going to get asked this question, and we got to really figure out how it's not going to sound like executive speak, which is what it sounded like. But short of that, though, I don't know enough about her pedigree or her output. It's not like she's Matt Booty. Let's put it this way. Matt Booty wasn't promoted to the head of Xbox Games or whatever. He's product development. But I have no idea about her. And so I couldn't tell you why she was hired. But you really want to argue the qualifications of the management leadership at Microsoft? Okay, so was Matt Booty hired because they needed to hire, hey, we have a DEI requirement to hire somebody's brother who's totally not qualified for the job, but we have to do it to get BlackRock money. Oh, Matt Booty's the guy. We have a requirement in the DEI to hire someone who's brilliant, but he's spineless and won't fire people who need to be fired. Ooh, Phil Spencer. I mean, you really want to throw Sarah Bond under the DEI bus when she's surrounded by white men who clearly couldn't manage their checkbook? Come on now. Crazy. Well, I will too, Controller Sports. Yeah, I'll take DEI over dumbass racist any day. Well, yeah, of course. Okay. Okay, let's move on with our goddamn live, shall we? Listen to this. I got to ask you guys this. I want to talk about Suicide Squad for a moment. Because you guys know Warner Brothers yesterday announced in their earnings call that they're taking a $200 million loss on Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And the article in Business Insider literally said, I mean, we've heard over and over that the game industry is getting like the movie business where you greenlight these things based on IP and the budgets are huge and the risks are big and blah, 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 blah. But I didn't know this. It says, Suicide Squad is a spectacular dud in line with some of the worst mistakes the movie studio has ever made, or other studios. It says in 2012, for example, Disney announced it would take a $200 million loss on John Carter, which I haven't seen yet. A year later, Disney said it would lose up to $190 million on The Lone Ranger. So we are getting into, or we are in that level. But I want to ask you these questions about that game. I'm still trying to figure out, as a guy who played it pretty much to the end, except I couldn't beat the final boss, and really enjoyed it. And I didn't play it in mind of it being a service game or a live game. It was $70. I bought it because it looked fun and I heard it was fun. And I genuinely thought it was fun. I don't think it was $70 worth of fun, certainly not game of the year. And maybe that's the answer, right? Maybe the answer is you can't compete at $70 unless every $70 game you release is at the level of game of the year. Maybe that is indeed what it is, what the reason was. Because to play that game and say it was it clearly was a financial disaster. But I'm wondering, what was it about that game that made people hate it so much that, I mean, most people wouldn't even try it. It got just reamed on the internet and in the court of public opinion and reviews. But it's not a bad game. It just simply isn't. I mean, objectively speaking, it may not be your favorite game of the year, but there's some great characters. It's fun. It's funny. Blackjack says the story. The story was fine. What's the matter with the story? The Justice League goes crazy and the bad guys have to kill the Justice League. Eddie T says it's another live service game that no one wanted. That may be true. But when you play the game, and you don't engage in the live service shit, it plays like a fun, B-level action-adventure shooter. Gameplay-wise, what did it do that was innovative and interesting, says John. Well, again, it's not that. I mean, it's just fun. It's a B matinee game. But I would say that the navigation of Captain Boomerang was a lot more fun for me this year than more Spider-Man 2 swinging. I enjoyed the shit out of it in that sense. Sam says you kill Superman with an AK-47. Are you kidding me? Well, if I remember, you kill him because you have kryptonite bullets or something, right? I mean, they address that. It had Sweet Baby Ink Stink on it. Shows up when you click the Steam. Yeah, I mean, there was one moment in the game that I would agree with you that even though I am very much, pro LGBT and all that stuff, crazy amounts. I still felt that seemed a little out there, what they did with this banner in the Hall of Justice. But short of that, I didn't get any of that kind of pushed agenda, as a lot of people will say. You sound like look. Here's what I'll say now. Okay, so look. Who said that? Wayne says nobody wanted a Suicide Squad game. We wanted Superman. Okay, so if what you're communicating, which that I can appreciate, which is it wasn't the game that was the worst thing ever, it failed because nobody wants to play as these characters. Maybe even just like Guardians of the Galaxy game, which I loved as well. And I think it was a better game than Suicide Squad, but I loved it as well. It did not perform to expectations. Perhaps it wasn't a good license. They were trying to push it because of the movie and the Peacemaker show, but it was never the right license to pick up and make a game out of. That's a fair assessment. I could see that, absolutely. But, you know, and Mark Arnold says, I really like the last Crackdown and Agents of Mayhem for all of the same reasons. Suicide Squad looks fun. Yeah. I mean, I've never played Crackdown 3, but people tell me Crackdown 3 is genuinely incredibly stupid, but a great deal of fun, which is what it was designed to be. So, you know, but people in the chat that are right now saying stuff like, oh my God, I can't believe you're saying this. I can't believe you're saying this. I wonder, have you actually played it? And again, I'm not trying to sell you on it. I don't care if you like it or not. I'm just trying to understand, you know, what was bad about it to you. Like Kyle says, I would have played a Suicide Squad game, but looter shooters, live service games are not my thing. They're not my thing either. But the live service stuff didn't even affect me. Like I didn't care about post game. Meant nothing to me. I just played the game. And when I got done with it, I got done with it. I played it day one. It was repetitive, says Wayne. It was. I mean, again, I'm not saying it's game of the year. It was a good B game. And maybe if it comes to Game Pass or PS Plus, people will give it a shot and go, okay, this isn't bad. This is a lot of fun. You may not want to finish it, but you know, it's fun. Senior Rickett says Suicide Squad was a good open world game with 4-player co-op and fast traversal. There is no comparable game. Yeah, I think it's really unfortunate that people dogpile on things that they don't actually spend any fucking time with. That's what bothers me a little bit, fellas. It just bothers me a little bit in the nether regions. Listen to this though. Listen to this. Hang on. Yeah, Lunch with Jaffe's coming up Wednesday, and there'll be a game night, I believe, that weekend, I think. I'm not sure on that, but I know the Lunch with Jaffe, yeah. I did not enjoy Avengers, but sounds like people in the chat did. Okay, all right. There's an article, my fellas and Follettis, over on PC Gamer called The 10 Corporate Dick Moves in Gaming History. And one of them was really interesting to me because I was trying to remember how we got around this. And it deals with things like the first time I ever heard about this was when Namco copyrighted, trademarked, whatever, the ability or patented, the ability to have a video game play during a load screen. And apparently they still have that patent and nobody else can do that. The good news is load screens have gone the way of the dodo, so fuck you, Namco. At least if you have a solid state drive. But anyway, that was on the list. But one of the ones on the list was another patent with Crazy Taxi, with the arrow, right? You remember Crazy Taxi, right? And here, I'll show you a picture of what they're talking about. So this arrow right here in a 3D open world that points to where you need to go in the 3D open world, Sega said that's ours. I don't think they ever sued anybody for it, but they were like, that's our fucking thing. And so when Sony was making Jet Moto, and I don't remember how Wave Race got around it, but when Sony was making Jet Moto, I remember this was an issue. And I know they did something different enough with the arrow that legal wasn't worried about it infringing. But, well, yeah, Ace Combat does the arrow, but it's Namco. But I don't remember what, and I don't know if anybody played Jet Moto. It's an old game. But I don't remember how we got around it or the guys who made the game got around it. But I will tell you, Controller Sports says that's like owning a compass. That's why it's listed as one of the big dick moves of gaming, because it's obnoxious as fuck. And I don't know if it could hold up in court. It might. I mean, just because a patent gets passed doesn't mean it can stand in the face of legal challenges. But, so yeah, well, CW says, Jaffe, I played Jet Moto, got my credentials right here. Yeah, let me know. I don't remember what it did. I have no idea what it did. You love advertising like that, Eddie T. Well, we're going to talk about that in a second because EA's coming back into talking about doing that shit. But anyway, if you liked Jet Moto, by the way, I do want to show you this game. And again, this is why I'm saying all the juice is in the indie space right now. But this is a game right now called Airframe Ultra for PC. It is not out yet. They're still working on it. But if you like the Jet Moto, this may be something that tickles your fancy. And I love the fact that these games are, coming out and they don't need big fucking money. It's people who just want to make shit they love and people support them. I mean, this is where the art is right now, fellas. But this is an open world Jet Moto, and it looks like, I believe it has the it's Jet Moto meets Road Rash, right? So you've got vehicle combat, melee, and I believe the grapple's in here, or some kind of fast turn rotation, which may or may not be based on the grapple. But this looks great. I'm super into this fucking thing. So I don't know when it's coming out. It's called Airframe Ultra. It's been in development for a while, but here you go. Here you go, my friends. Jaffe, is Tango Gameworks a sign that if you have ambition to make a great single-player game, just stay independent? Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. 100% Bacon Magma. And there's split screen, too. Isn't that great? Combat in split screen and racing. Yeah, I mean, I think the writing is on the wall. I think as much as I think Matt Booty is terrible at his job, when he said we do need small games that win awards, I think what he was talking about, because he got a lot of shit, understandably, for that comment right after they closed Tango Gameworks. I don't think what Tango Gameworks made is the kind of small games he's talking about. I think he's talking about like Crow Country or Animal Well. Like we can, or Pentiment even. We can make small games and we need to, but they can't be $12 million swings for the fences because it's not gonna give us what we need. But yeah, absolutely. If Stray's too expensive, Robert, Stray's not a small game. But yeah, if you want to make single player games at this point, just go make them. I don't want to be I talk about it all the time. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense why you wouldn't go indie and make your game. It is what it is. Sousa says, so when Xbox spends 25 minutes talking about the devs being able to be creative, they are lying to us. I mean, yeah, I don't think they're lying. Like, I think what they're saying is, yes, in a perfect world, our creatives get to work on projects they love. But I think this is why I'm always, not the main reason, but this is one of the reasons I'm always like trumpeting media literacy, because how in the fuck gamers believe this shit, this lip service horse shit? It's like, even when Sony says it, our teams will never make something they don't want to make. Yeah, they will. Or more importantly, just because they want to make something doesn't mean they're going to get to make it. It's gotta meet a number of criteria depending on the size of the budget. So yeah, it's absolutely a lie. In that, if you assume that is the only element that makes these determinations of what gets greenlit. Yes, it's totally a lie. Jaffe says, Bacon Magma, will you ever buy and play a Steam Deck? Maybe. I mean, now that I know that you can hook your Steam Deck up to a TV, and I knew that before, but I kind of forgot about it, I might, because it would be nice to have a very easy way to bring my PC games over onto the TV, the big TV in the living room and all that. But I gotta turn that off. I don't want to copyright. But I'll tell you though, to me, the Steam Deck, I think, is like $350 right now. So what I would advise. Again, I'm not. Fucking I am. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to tell you what I think. I know those guys are obnoxious that are always trying to push PC on you. But if you can buy a fucking basically a PC, which is like a mid-level computer Steam Deck that hooks up to your television. Just buy that instead of, unless you were just in love with PlayStation first party, and even if you are, that's coming on Steam Deck. They didn't announce, but they leaked God of War is coming. It's a little later than you could play it day one, but that's probably even getting better based on what Hiroki Totoki Momoki has said. It'll cost you $350. Go get a goddamn cockadoodie Steam Deck. Hook it up to your TV and be done. Why people are buying consoles over that, I don't know. If you want to dabble in PC gaming, Steam Deck is the way. I don't even know if it's dabble. I think it's the best gaming out there right now. Once Sony goes digital only, I'll probably go full PC. I'll never go full PC. Come on now. I agree. Okay, so Eric says hook it up and play at 480p at 20 frames per second. Is that right? Are you saying if you hook up your Steam Deck to a TV with a HDMI cable, it will give you 20 frames a second at 480p? If that's the case, that's terrible. But I don't think that's true. Let me know in the chat. But anyway, okay. Or wait for Steam Deck 2. Yeah, I'm just saying. Okay, hang on. Hang on, I want to see something real quick. Okay. I will save those. Let's look at this real quick. Let's see. Let's check in. With where we're at with Marvel Rivals. How it's looking. Is this a game that would interest you? Let's go to the live right now. This is what they're doing right now. So he is playing Magneto. Iron Volley, fires orbs, projectiles. He teams up with Scarlet Witch. It looks just like Overwatch, but it's Marvel, right? So I am going to play it. It's free to play. I am there the minute I get in. It may be average at best. My casual as fuck friends, Mascus says, are super excited for this. I am too. Power of the brand, baby. It doesn't look very compelling. It just looks like people, this is the first night it's been active. So people are just kind of standing in front of each other and shooting. This looks pretty stupid. I think they're trying to get the, this is like move the thing in Team Fortress 2. They're trying to get the thing to move. I think that's what this mode is. You can change into a, what the fuck? Oh, that's that girl, Hela. Let's go. Let's see Loki play. Here's Loki. When is this out? I don't know. That's Punisher now. That's cool. I don't know when this comes out. There's Star-Lord. I believe this is kind of they're calling this like a closed alpha test, which means this isn't like, it'll be out in a week. This is like, I think we're trying to figure out is our networking working and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, there's the chariot. I guess you're trying to protect the chariot to get somewhere in Asgard. Okay, Strange is leaping through portals. That's cool. And there's Rocket Raccoon down there. It's hard for me not to love it because it's Marvel, but I don't know. People who don't give a fuck about Marvel, what do you think? K-Nub says it looks incredibly meh. Fletch says it looks more like Paladins than Overwatch. But isn't Paladins like a MOBA-esque game? No, it's not. PK says it's just DC Universe Online. DC Universe Online, I haven't played that in a long time, but isn't that game like the combat is not, it's like World of Warcraft combat. This is like an actual shooter, right? Yeah, the payload is not the Batmobile. The payload, at least in this level, is the Asgardian chariot that you're trying to get to a certain place. As a game, though, it doesn't look... Oh, there's Storm. Cool. If it wasn't Marvel, I would not see this and go, ooh. I'd go, whatever. But that looks terrible. That looks horrible. It's early, but that looks terrible. The animations are not good, at least on some of these. Is anybody watching this and you go, this is awesome, or no. Steam Deck says Admiral is a pain in the ass for a lot of games. Jaffe, even those on Steam, console's still a better experience. All right, that's fair. That's fair. The game looks like shit, says Johnny S. It does. I mean, I will agree. It doesn't look great. I'm trying to see if, like the actual moment-to-moment gameplay, it could be brilliant, but it looks kind of like, It's just, right? I mean, that's, But it's early, so maybe it'll work. Let's see how Spider-Man plays. Let's see what he do with his webs. Can he swing a lot? Probably. You got to be able to swing a Spider-Man. There you go. Kind of more like a grapple hook, I guess. That's kind of cool. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, fellas. All right. Now listen to me with all your attention. Let me open up the chat if anybody wants to jump on and talk about any of the topics we've talked about today or just anything in general. Here is the link. You can bring yourself in and I will put you on. That's not what I want to give you. I want to give you this. They will fix it. Just buy it now. It's free, actually. So you don't have to buy it. Think about that. Can I be honest? I don't like the UI, says Fonzie. It should have a zing, bang, bam, pow comic style. I actually don't agree with that. I had a meeting once with Stan Lee, which I was like, oh my God, I'm meeting with Stan Lee. And he was pitching me. He's like, hey, let's make a video game. And I said, all right, what do you got in mind? What are you thinking? And he was talking about, like, let's make it like you'll see comic panels and this and that and the other. And I just remember saying, it's like, but when you read comics, you don't think of those things. You get immersed in the world and you're not seeing the panels and the word balloons and all that shit. You're just following a great story. If you put that as the main game, like Comic Zone was back in the day, I don't actually think you're going to connect with fans of comics. But that was my take. And he's like, I agree. That's a good point. All right. So if anybody wants to talk, I'm going to go get another Diet Coke. I'll be back in like 2 seconds, but the link is up right there. It's not a Discord link. It is the link I just put up. If you're in Twitch or you're watching on YouTube, you can click it and it'll invite you in and I'll bring you in, if it makes sense to. And you don't have to be on camera. You can just use your headset if you want. Okay. I'll be back in 2 seconds. Just got to get some drink. You guys are so shy on Friday. All week long, we've had great people calling in, and now there's like nobody. All right, no worries. Well, we can wrap it up. What are you guys playing this weekend before we head out of here? What are you guys going to spend your... I'll tell you what I'm playing. I'll be playing Marvel Snap, Call of Duty, playing some Crow Country. I have yet to get obsessed with... what's that thing called? With Animal Well. I like it, but I haven't really lost my shit over it yet, but I have a feeling I will, maybe. Yeah, Fonzie's playing Animal Well. Gotcha. Hang on, let me get this off the screen. You can see. You're playing Stellar Blade and Have a Nice Death. Right, on Game Pass, Have a Nice Death. My thing is, I haven't even loaded it up because I hear it's really hard. And you're playing Gollum Rain. Excellent. Sam Toshi says Helldivers 2. Oh, wait. You're saying Helldivers 2 purchase restrictions were updated to add Baltics. Ghost Tsushima has the same purchase restriction. Yeah, I know. We talked about that yesterday. Hitman World of Assassination. I own it. People tell me I would love it. I was a little overwhelmed at first playing it, and I haven't gone back to it, but I need to. All right, let's bring in Delta Gamer real quick. See, we haven't talked to Delta Gamer, Bacon Magma, in quite some time. Here he is. Bacon Magma, what's going on, buddy? Not much, clearly. Bacon Magma, are you there? Okay, Hitman Trilogy is amazing, says Nugget. Is that the same as the one the other guy was just talking about? World of Assassination? Because I know there's like a connected world now or some such shit. Okay, it's the same thing. Okay. You're playing Rebirth for the love of gaming, Call of Duty. I'll be playing Call of Duty as well. I'll probably play a little bit of Fortnite as well. Dying Light. Cool. Bacon Magma, Delta Gamer, where are you? Hello. All right. It's interesting you guys are putting Scarface in there. I've been seeing a number of people talking about Scarface on the internet lately. I wonder why that's gone viral. Okay, so K-Nub says, I had the same reaction, Jaffe. Once you get comfortable with the tutorial of Hitman, it's easily one of the top 10 games ever. So if I was going to try to get into it, I would just play World of Assassination and just say, I'm starting a new file or whatever and start from there. And that's the tutorial. And just from there, it'll take me where I'm going. Because I hear it's really great. And I just haven't spent any time with it. Hey, baby. Has Ace eaten? No. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, couldn't get Dell on. All right, anybody else want to jump in? If not, we'll head on out. Head on out, and I'll see you guys online this weekend. I'll be back with Cabinet Games next week. But, Doug, you were bored by Hitman 1 and 2. Gotcha. Immortals of Avium. I have that downloaded. Need to try that, too. Yeah, there's so much to play, man. I don't know. I do not know. Bacon, I can't drop the Discord link because it's not hooked up into this. I've been playing Crow Country. I'm surprised, Eddie T, that you're playing Crow Country, given that it's not physical. I imagine they will do a physical version of that. Seems like they can do a lot of good stuff with it. How far are you in? I mean, I'm very... Oh, Pepper Grinder's great, man. How far are you into Crow Country? I've just gotten to... I mean, I'm like... good, probably 40 minutes in, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, there's a lot of games. A lot of fucking games. All right, my friends and frenetties. That's it. That's the show then. I will see you guys in the future. Be well, be safe, and have a good weekend. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me. Very, very much appreciate it. Bye, you guys. All right. Where's the music? Don't you need music for me to go away? Let me put some music in for you to go. Oh, the music. Shut up, idiot. I'm trying to bring Hammer Pants in. He jumped in at the last second, but I don't know how to get him in here. DJ Hammer Pants. Yeah, it didn't work. All right. See you guys.